It's often said that only one person dies from a bear attack every year in the US, but I think that's wrong. Between 2020 and 2022 alone, at least 8 people were killed by bears. Even so, these are small numbers compared to other causes of death. Spiders kill 17 people a year, snakes 25, and 67 people die from dog bites. So while human-bear encounters are on the rise, the woods are still one of the safest places you can be. A bear attack is not what should be keeping you up at night. However, if you're a bear, then you should be afraid. Grizzly bears have been listed as threatened under the Endangered Species Act for over 50 years. In Montana's northern continental divide ecosystem, where more than 1,000 grizzlies roam, a study found that just 1 out of 10 adult bears died of old age. 2 in 10 deaths went unexplained, but humans accounted for a staggering 71% of adult grizzly bear deaths. And that was all over the same time period. About a third were killed illegally through poaching, but the second leading cause was agency removal. That's just a polite term for euthanizing bears after too many negative encounters with people. The data on black bears is less precise. There are far more of them than brown bears, and while generally less aggressive, their numbers and wider range mean we actually see more reported attacks. But whether it's brown bears in Alaska, grizzlies in the Rocky Mountains, or black bears across North America, the causes for conflict are the same.
Gear up and get outside.
When bears raid campsites for food, they associate campers and campsites with food. Scientists call this food conditioning. And food conditioning is a major factor in human-bear interactions. Human-bear interactions create opportunity for conflict, which could cause harm or injury or even death to a person. And then we have a big problem. A standard management practice for when bears do raid a campsite for food is to locate it, trap it, and then euthanize it. So even if a bear doesn't injure you or anybody else, when he raids your cooler to steal that bacon, you allowing that to happen still puts that bear at risk of euthanization. Proper storage of food and garbage at a campsite can help prevent bears from approaching people, which might just save their life and yours. So how do we make sure that our food stays in our cooler and not in a bear's stomach? That's where the Interagency Grizzly Bear Committee comes in, known as IGBC. This is essentially, as suggested, an interagency collaboration among various state and federal agencies like the U.S. Forest Service, the National Park Service, the Idaho Fish and Game, and Montana Parks and Wildlife. They coordinate a program called the Bear Resistant Products Program, and the whole idea of this is to be able to test various types of containers, from coolers to garbage cans and a number of other products, for bear resistance. And that's what you're about to see. So today we're at the Grizzly and Wolf Discovery Center in West Yellowstone, Montana, and we're gonna get an inside look as to how they test products for bear resistance. I'd like to thank and acknowledge not only the IGBC, but Chris here at the Grizzly and Wolf Discovery Center, who manages the bear resistant products testing process. I also want to thank Blue Coolers not only for sponsoring this video, but for allowing us this inside look while their products are actually being tested. This is all in the name of educating both you and me on how this process works and why it's important for us to keep it in mind as campers and outdoor recreationists.
Here at the Grizzly Wolf Discovery Center, which is who I'm employed by, we work alongside the IGBC for the product testing program. The product testing that we do here is very, very important. It's a huge role in conservation for wild bears, not just for grizzly bears, but for black bears as well. It's all about keeping bears out of products where they're going to get food. And most bears that get into trouble in the wild, typically, I'd say 9 times out of 10, it's usually food conditioning. And our bears here at the center play a huge role in that. I like to call them ambassadors. And the IGBC feels if these bears here that are essentially trained to do this, they feel very, very confident that most wild bears out there aren't going to be able to get into these sorts of problems. Bears that become food conditioned, it only takes one time, typically. The famous saying, unfortunately, is a fed bear is a dead bear, and that is so true. That's why having food items secured in an IGBC certified product out here in the Rocky Mountain region, it's the most important thing you can do when you're camping in bear country. A lot of things that go into whether bears are going to start to get pretty comfortable in human setting areas, whether it's campgrounds or housing developments. Bears are coming into those areas drawn to food. That's all bears are focused on in the summertime is food. Eating and breeding are the 2 biggest things for bears. That's what their life revolves around. Once that breeding season is over, it's all food driven. So all the bears here at our place at the Grizzly Wolf Discovery Center, they've all been food conditioned and they've been taken out of the wild because of that. There's a lot of education to do. I'd say your typical tourist that comes up here on vacation, a lot of them are unaware. And what we do here at the Grizzly Wolf Discovery Center is we're about education, educating the public. A lot of it about bear behavior and things, very generalization things about bears, what they eat, hibernation. But a lot of what we do too is if you encounter a bear, what's the proper thing to do? You know, we talk a lot about bear spray. We talk a lot about hiking in groups. We talk a lot about, with the food container testing side, is food storage and how do you properly store food. And the testing that we do here for the IGBC is showing people what a bear can do. And if you do camp and recreate in grizzly bear country, you want to have a certified product that has been passed and tested through the IGBC and through us. The ultimate goal is that bears remain wild and stay bears, and that humans at the same time are safe, and that humans and bears can coexist with each other at a safe level, and that bears aren't becoming conditioned into areas where people live and areas where people camp, and that in case that does happen and they come across someone that has a cooler left out, that it is bear resistant and that they can't get a food reward out of it, and the bears just move through that area with no issues. It's all about keeping bears wild. We don't want bears taken out of the population, and we don't want bears becoming accustomed to human areas. And inevitably, when that happens, it's a huge public safety concern where somebody could get hurt. And we don't want that. Our bears here play a really important role in conservation so that wild bears remain wild. Ultimately, that's what we want. So we're stripping these handles off and the latches on the front of the cooler. Number one priority is our bears' safety. So bears, they're kind of like toddlers. If they can put something in their mouth and potentially eat it, they will. And we don't want them ingesting any of that stuff that could harm them. So putting in a piece of rainbow trout. We got these dog biscuits
bones,
here,
yeah.
dog bones, some peanut butter. Who doesn't love peanut butter, right?
Yeah.
And then sardines are, they drive the bears crazy.
Do they?
So yeah, anything that has a really good smell to it, something of high calorie, like fish, peanut butter, stuff that gets them really excited.
Yeah.
That they're really gonna wanna investigate it and work it and ultimately try to break into it.
Want them to try to bash into it.
100%. Yeah,
That's
the
the goal.
whole goal is for them to put this thing through a hurting. We bait it so that we can get the bears engaged with this cooler.
Yeah.
If there's nothing inside this cooler, if we were just to put the cooler out there, they'd probably just roll it around and play with it like a toy. We've been baiting products pretty much about the same way for 20 some years.
Oh, wow.
As long as we've been doing this.
So there's
testing.
been some consistency to it for sure.
A lot of consistency,
nice.
yeah. Bears are going through hyperphagia right now, and that's a mass eating frenzy that they're wanting to put all these calories on. September, October, it can kind of go into November as well. And this is the time of year where they're really wanting to put on a lot of those calories. They'll put on a third of their body weight this time of year.
That's crazy.
So that's why they're going to be really engaged to want to get into this thing.
Bon appetit, bears. Ready to go, ready for the bears. So would your cooler survive this? Do they ever tag team it?
No, usually
one's on it, the other
one
guy
of them-
backs off?
Yeah, and then the other one will be, whoever's on it will be pretty protective of it.
Yeah, I bet. That's why only one bear's on it at a time.
That's right, yeah.
He doesn't want Bo around it. Can you walk me through the process of the test? Like, what defines the test?
First step is to fill out a product submission form. What it's made out of, sizes, weights, measurements, those sorts of things. I'll review it. There is a fee to have things tested. The next step is for the product to be sent here to the Grizzly Wolf Discovery Center, and then I will schedule a date to get the product tested, and it may be multiple dates, and it could go on for a month potentially, depending on the time of year, depending on the weather, how motivated the bears are to want to test. Some products can take a while to get a full 60 minutes of pause on contact, and that's what we're looking for.
When he's pushing it around, does that count, or is it pressure, abrasion?
It's pause, so it's chewing, pawing, clawing,
okay.
Him standing on it, doing CPR on it. Really important when you have a product, say a cooler, that is bear resistant, and that it does have to be padlocked, but there's a lot of different size padlocks. I mean, if you go and buy some padlocks with some really long shanks, you're like, great, my cooler is padlocked. It's meeting the needs for it to be certified. But if that lid can still lift up, can't be over 1/4 of an inch. So you want to make sure you have a padlock with the shank on it, so when that lid wants to lift up, you're not getting over 1/4 of an inch gap from the lid to the main body of the product.
Wow, that was so awesome to see those grizzlies go to town on that blue cooler and to get Chris's take on the process and why it's important. But I also wanted to get a different perspective. I wanted to understand what the process is like from the business owner's perspective. If you have a cooler and you want to get it tested, what does that look like for you? So I got the CEO of Blue Coolers on the horn.
Marcus Sorensen. I'm the CEO of Caddis Sports and Blue Coolers. There's several reasons to go through this process from a business standpoint. One, obviously, is we have certain customers that require it. Second is we're trying to build a brand, a reputable brand that people can look to and trust. And this is just one extra step that's generally recognized by a lot of consumers as the standard for cooler quality and durability and the ability to take it places where you are going to potentially be confronted with grizzly bears. And that's, I guess, the final thing is for us, we want to build products that people can actually use for their intended use and it actually can be a safety factor when you're dealing with bears in the wild and making sure that you have your stuff contained in a way where they're not going to be incentivized to come just tear through it, right?
I mean, I assume you're also an outdoorsman yourself. You like to get outside and do stuff?
When I'm not sitting behind a computer trying to figure this company out, yeah, I like to get out and do things. Absolutely.
So, I mean, from that angle, why do you care about bear resistance as a person, as a consumer yourself?
I've never confronted a bear personally.
Sure.
I hope not to. Bears are also really cool, right? Like we want them to live in the wild and stay in the wild and not be in our backyards.
Yeah.
We all have a part to play in not conditioning them to like, hey, if I go into this campground, there's these little boxes they have, and all I do is rip the lid off and it's just full of food, right? Yeah. And they need to know, like, I can't get into that box. It's really closed up tight. And so, yeah, I mean, that I feel like that's something where I can actually, as a cooler brand, I can help in that regard.
I know you're still in the process too. I mean, your coolers are still being tested as we speak. So once you have all the results and and maybe they all pass, maybe some need to have modified, like, is there a potential that you might tweak your design going forward based on this testing, or?
We're pretty confident they're going to pass. However, if they don't, that would be something we have to address. And if that required, that would be an expensive thing to address. We'd have to change molds. We have to change design. Like, that's not cheap. There is some nervousness around doing it because you're like, oh boy, fingers crossed. I'm pretty sure they're fine, but you never know.
Right.
So yeah, there's a little bit of like, I hope this passes.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, from what I hear, the one you saw did pass. And
oh, great. He got enough time on it. Awesome.
I believe so. Yeah.
Well, that's the great news. Congratulations. I'm glad to hear it.
So one more to go. We've got one more to go. And at that point, all of our coolers will be IGBC certified.
Oh, fantastic. Well,
Yeah.
that's wonderful. That's quite an accomplishment. I don't know if a lot of people know that Blue Coolers is affiliated with Caddis Sports. And Caddis Sports, you guys make all kinds of camping gear from cots to chairs and tents and otherwise. Why do you think it's important as a business to support wildlife conservation through things like certification?
We think about it a lot because as an outdoor company, we're producing a fair amount of goods that are ending up in consumers' hands. And then ultimately, if it's a bunch of garbage, it's just ending up in a landfill too.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like the thought of all the stuff I'm producing just filling up landfills. Nor do I like the idea of people looking at our stuff as just like sort of disposable garbage that you buy, you use for one trip, and then you throw it away. We're
Right.
trying to build quality items that people can use for years to come. And we feel a bit of a responsibility there too, because, you know, if you buy a cooler and it lasts for 10, 15, 20 years, well, that's 10, 15 or 20 years of recycling coolers and buying garbage and throwing it in a landfill that didn't happen.
Right.
So we do take that pretty seriously. We actually just introduced another cooler line that will launch next year in REI that is built with a percentage of plastic is made from ocean-bound plastics. So
Fantastic.
they're plastics that have been identified as ultimately ending up through kind of the stream of commerce into like actually the ocean and polluting the ocean. And
Okay.
so we're helping kind of reduce the volume of waste that's ending up out in the world too by trying to do that on the production side of things too. Right?
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. That's a great effort there. Kudos. I appreciate you and Blue Coolers sponsoring this video and making it possible for me to go out to West Yellowstone, even allowing us access to see your cooler being tested as it's being tested, because there's a certain risk, you know, from you.
Yeah.
It doesn't work out, but I'm glad to hear it did. That's fantastic.
The niche we fill is if you're looking for the best quality, high quality cooler, but at a more affordable price, and you're not necessarily, I need to have that name brand that everybody knows. That's who we are. I mean, we have a good solid history and track record of producing coolers for years and years and years. These are solid, reliable, high quality products, and you're going to save a fair amount of money by choosing us versus other brands.
I can confirm that. I have done many cooler tests, as you all know, and Blue Coolers is always in that top tier for ice retention in particular. I think you're on to a few things like the shape of it, even that it's a little bit more boxy and square. I think that really helps concentrate the thermal mass, which just keeps it colder longer. So you've got a great product. Thank you for sponsoring this video, and thank you for allowing me to film your cooler being mauled by bears.
Likewise, man. Thanks for heading out there. I appreciate it.
I don't know about you, but I found that conversation super interesting, and I really appreciate how outdoor brands like Blue Coolers are making an effort and investing in wildlife conservation, because that's important to me. For more information or to look at those Blue Coolers, you can go to bluecoolers.com or click on the link below.
Thanks again to Blue Coolers for sponsoring this video. Choosing IGBC certified products isn't just about gear, it's about wildlife conservation. Thanks for watching. Now gear up and get outside.